All right, guys. So we're live. We're officially live on YouTube. Uh, we've been talking already about a lot of stuff. I don't know if you want to continue in the same direction or if we got other topics, guys. Uh, I'll just throw one at you. I know, Alvin, you were talking about team. When we first started. This week, I've been dealing with some particular situations at work, just really employees having problems with each other, like arguing, and I had to bring them in and be in the middle and investigate. And then one thing came out in the end is simply that we have good people, but it was about setting a clear line for everyone for not to cross, and holding leaders accountable for that too. So it just comes down to intentionality, I believe. A lot of times people have a vision, they have an idea, they have different strategies they want to implement. But if as leaders we're not intentional in setting clear values, clear lines, a culture, then all these things mean nothing really. It's just lip service. So it was a cool thing for me to see in action and to pinpoint where I knew, okay, this week I have to hold, let's say, our leaders accountable to holding the line, as we say. You got to serve people, you got to be there for them, but it's our responsibility to set a clear line and to hold it no matter what. I feel that people are actually more comfortable when we do that. They know where they stand, and that's how we can actually create a culture. So just by doing that, I see a big difference already, and it was a cool thing to see, for sure. So I'm kind of throwing this at you guys, seeing if you got any thoughts on this, on holding the line, setting the line, and holding the line. And yeah, this is me, and I'm passing the mic.
Yeah, I'll jump in there on that one. It's really important to set expectations as a leader, right? I mean, we have to set expectations. Otherwise, how can we expect, our people to maintain a certain standard? And when it comes to teamwork and infighting, that's one of those big ones that can really disrupt a team. And so the expectation has to be that's not an option. So it's not an option to have infighting and all of the things that come along with that, right? Undermining, all of that has to be, the expectation has to be that that's not an option. And that's a quick way to select yourself off a team, right? Because we can't have a team when we have this division and things like that. So we have to be able to come together, for the team, right? To achieve our overarching goals and vision. So that is one of the things for me in building teams and culture, that we have to be all rowing in the same direction, right? We have to be pulling together, be coming together as a team, and anyone or anything that tries to separate that, we have to be very decisive in rooting that out, and setting it, like you said, drawing a clear line in the sand that this is not the way we operate, and then obviously showing the example of how we do it in a manner, how we do business, how we conduct business, how we resolve challenges in a manner that builds a team even further. So that's a huge one, and I think that weak leaders will let things like that fester and let things like that go on, and instead of having a team, they have a bunch of individuals, right? And so they're not nearly as effective, as competitive, as resourceful as a team. And a team will always defeat a group of individuals, right? For sure. So those are a few thoughts, and I'll pass the mic.
Um, I'll jump in. I'm writing that last note. I was sitting there listening when I was listening to you just talking about it. In one of the words we say is set expectations. We always set expectations, but when you were talking, I was thinking to myself, setting expectations is good, but it's more like any other destination. I mean, it's good to have it, but everybody don't know how to get there. You know what I mean? It's a great place. Like, we're going to create this culture, and I'm figuring out as a leader, this is what I want the culture to be. And, you write down, this is what we're going to do. Culture is where we're going to set this tone. We're going to interact this way. And I realized what we're really doing is setting up destinations. You're saying, this is where we're going to end. This is where I want us to land. This is where I want us to arrive. The problem is everybody don't know the way. And I think as leaders, it's very easy to forget that a lot of people lost on the journey. You know what I mean? So as opposed to saying set expectations, I think I stick more with it's the journey of expectation, because some people are a whole lot further along. I mean, depending on where you're traveling, some people live closer. You know what I'm saying? If I'm trying to get to northern Canada, you and Alvin are a whole lot closer than me and Charlie, right? So you don't have as far to go, but that don't mean you know where we're going. You just closer to it. So when I look at you, I'm like, Raymond already got it figured out. Why the rest of y'all ain't where Raymond is? Well, that's where you live. You just happen to reside in a place due to probably a whole bunch of other decisions that were made that got you from where you was raised to where you are. By happenstance, you happen to be a little bit closer to the North Pole, if that's where we're going. But I don't know if you really take a step back. All of it wasn't you doing. Some things occurred that kind of just moved you that direction. And I think when we were thinking about our employees, we forget some of that stuff they know, even the ones that are good, is happenstance. You just happen to have been around some people, you know what I mean? You happen to have been in this group with the four of us. You happen to have, Dr. Cartwright as a boss at some point, and he was sharing with you. You're like, oh, man, you further along. Are you really? Or did you just, were you exposed to some other stuff? And I think we have to be careful, though. The point is, I think we have to be careful. And I mean, that's all of us when we're leading, because even I do it. You're like, and then you get frustrated. Why are you fighting? Well, come on, people, we passed this. Are we? You know what I mean? You hear them fighting. Are they really? Because I think you got to look back where their journey started. Some of them ain't made it to the U.S.-Canadian border. Somebody's still in Texas. We trying to get North Pole. Somebody's still in Texas. You're like, I got to get you all the way up to Minnesota. But then you got somebody living in Minneapolis. You're like, well, we just got just a couple 100 miles up the road. We can get there. You know what I mean? We almost Canada. So it's just, I think when we think about it, I do try to stay mindful of the fact that it's a journey, not necessarily a place, because we all trying to get there. But like I said, everybody don't know the way. And then we're like, why don't you know? I mean, usually there's only one tour guide. You had two, y'all probably gonna have a problem, You got two chefs in the kitchen trying to go eat 2 different restaurants. You just need one person. And it takes a while for everybody to understand who the leader is and follow. But I think as leaders, we have to be mindful that it's a journey, not necessarily a destination. We're just trying to get better. What better look like is better than yesterday, right? And worse than tomorrow. We look better than we did yesterday, and we look worse than we do tomorrow. And I think that's the continuing process to get where we want to get. All right, I'll pass the mic.
All right. I was looking something up here and trying to find my screen now. All right, so lots to say on this, because this is no different than having a family.
Yeah.
Really and truly. All right, and it's no different than having a family. Peter Drucker, let's go right to Peter Drucker. One of my favorite quotes by Peter Drucker is he says, 3 things happen in every organization, everyone. There's going to be friction, confusion, and underperformance.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Everything else requires leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I love that quote. I quote that all the time, and I remember that constantly because it is true. You're going to have conflicts. Absolutely. Friction and conflicts. You're going to have confusion. What did he say to do? I don't know. Not my department. Right? And then underperformance. How many are 20 odd percent? Oh, Charlie knows this one. How many percentage are actually engaged in work? That's a small percentage, 22%, something like that. right?
Yeah, it's like a third.
A third, and then there's another
Worldwide, it's like in the 20s.
exactly, and then there's another small group who's actively sabotaging your business.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's a small group then who then just shows up and gets a paycheck. Right. So yeah, so this is why leadership is absolutely unbelievably important. We got to look at it this way. A lot of people, it's a job. I put my ad in wherever, Kijiji or wherever people put ads nowadays. And guess what I'm looking for? I'm looking for that grocery to be put in the fridge. Maybe a little vacation if I'm lucky, but pay my mortgage and some car payments. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to make your company any better. I'm not looking to, it's very rare to find those few people who say, oh, I want to make this big organization and that man, that woman at the top, I want to make them richer. No, that's not the conversation that goes on in their head. It's I'm here just showing up, making them, just going in their pockets. And I know, blah, 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 blah. Right. So that's what you're getting on average. You get the rare few who say, I really love this company, Lululemon, and I want to go in and add to the culture and the crusade of making the world. Those are very rare people. So what are you going to get? Conflict. They come in, and you think about this for a second. An average person has a whole lot of problems going on at home, from marriage to old things they're working on, limited beliefs in their own life, triggers by another employee, la, la, la. By the time someone comes and sits at their desk to actually do some work, if the work starts at 9, I'm just going to sneeze real quick.
Bless
Thank you. If the work starts at 9 a.m., I'm going to say productivity picks up around 10, because, you come in, you got to check the water cooler, warm up your computer, go and talk to, hey, Charlie, you see that game yesterday, man? Yeah, get into it. And then you got to get your mind wrapped around where you left the work from yesterday. And then once you start doing that, you hope a buzz doesn't come in or your partner doesn't call you on the phone and text you, and you got to go over and check the text and underperformance. It's impossible to get 110% out of somebody. You know what I mean? That's why work fills the time allotted for it. You set a time, and somehow the busiest days are the days before vacation, right? They just, the week before vacation, everything gets done because they don't want anything when they come back. So that's what we're dealing with as leaders. We're dealing with a lot of holes in the boat, leakage all over the place. So a leader now sets the tone. A leader is the rabbit, the chase, who they come in every day. And if your energy is low, and if you're distracted, if you're busy doing things that are not work-related things, that's what they'll do. Because you're setting the bar of how to behave in this culture, just like a family would, right? If Pops comes home and says, you should be studying, or why are you always on the video games? You should be outside, but plops down in the couch, watches a few rounds of TV and calls it a night. But you want them motivated to get educated, motivated to get working. That's strange how they want you to be the example, which is why we don't set high bars, because we have to actually live with them too. So most people don't set a high bar for things, because the leader has to now toe that line when they set that bar. And they might know they won't be able to toe the line. So why set it too high, right? So the culture follows along. Because it literally is, I was like a magnet, when you put a magnet and the fillings just magnetized towards the thing. Because if I came in, if my name is not on that lease or not on that corporation documents, I don't really and truly, if the company went down tomorrow, I'd go get unemployment until I can get a new position. That's how much engagement I have from you. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. So a leader has to come in and somehow find out how these people tick, what makes them come alive, what motivates each of them. If it's a huge organization, you let your leaders in, the sub leaders, teach them how to find out what motivates those people, keep them engaged, what lights them up, what doesn't light them up. You know, and the old 80-20 rule, right? Pareto's principle. 20% of the employees will always just drive 80% of your productivity, business, or whatever. So you kind of, and I remember Jim Rohn saying, you can't, even if you got rid of the 80, just swipe off the 80, the 20 will become the 80-20 again. It just is what it is. So if we understand all of those things and really set the tone, be the example of what you want to see, know that everybody comes to work looking for a North Star, someone to follow. Second is realize that you have three things, and these are laws. These are like gravity. I'm gonna, you know, if I let this go, that's the only place it's gonna go is down. It is what it is. Confusion, conflict, underperformance. I mean, it is gonna be what it is. So our goal as leaders is to mitigate as much of that as possible. We can't eliminate. It's like you know, if you worked out every day and ate right, and there's no guarantee you're gonna survive anything, but the odds are in your favor that you will. So, you know, doing these things, the odds are in our favor if we continue to set the pace. Think of each individual, knowing that they're once I got it in my head that these people they can tell me they love me. They can absolutely, and they can show me they love me. We can go over to their house for dinner after work. We can connect, go play golf. But at the end of the day, we will end up doing what's right for us and our families. So if that means I have to go to a competitor to get the raise they told me I was going to get what my family needs, I'll do it. So if we fall out of love with this idea that they're going to ride or die, and just fall in love that I have to nurture them each time and find out what each individual wants and what each individual that is integral to the company, and you know, yeah, I think you'd be better off, man. Just, yeah, that's my thesis on that whole thing.
True. You're on mute, Rick.
I'm good now. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I said that's so true, and especially now, you know, in the times we're living in now. And I guess a question I always ask people, and I ask myself, is where do you find great leaders, you know, or employees or clients? You know, where do you find these guys? Do you find them, or do you create them? You know, one way or another, because people coming to your organization with their motivations, with everything, you know, that makes them who they are. But in the end, how they're gonna adapt and how they're gonna evolve is really dependent on us, you know, and what type of environment or experience we create for them. It's like going to school, you know, if a kid goes to school, he has great friends at school that he likes, he learns stuff that is relevant, you know, he's having fun over there, he's this, he's that. Well, workplace or your clients really is kind of the same thing, you know, the environment that we create. So as leader, I'm always kind of thinking about that is, okay, how do we create these? Okay, we need engaged people. How do we engage people? You know, I tried something this week. Let's see what comes out of it. You know, I'll tell you guys what I tried. It's just, we have this pool, and they're in the process of creating a syndicate right now in the pool. So prior to me getting there was some, let's say, ruffled feathers and relationships. So me, I'm just cool with everyone. I'm building bridges, all of that stuff. And I decided now that every new employee that is hired, depending on whatever department there is, I have this template of a letter. I have like this branded paper where I write a handwritten note to basically welcome this new employee to the company. And as they're onboarded, they get this letter. Their coordinator or whatever gives them that letter, because I don't necessarily have time or the opportunity to meet all the employees, you know, every single day. But I do take that 3 minutes to write this letter and sign it. And I tried that. And a new employee just came into my office Friday, was so happy, and felt so welcome on their first day. Maybe that's one way, it's little steps here or there, but that's one thing I'm like, hey, I'll make sure that when they come in, they're gonna have the best experience. They're gonna feel welcome. I'm gonna use that opportunity to remind them of our values, of our culture, of what they can expect from us, what we can expect from them, and how happy we are that they are there. I can't possibly sit down in front of all of them and do that, but hey, that's one way, right? So let's see where that goes. Another thing also I've realized as I speak to some of my clients also, or just other people who are in leadership, I see a lot of perfectionism sometimes, because what happens is that as a leader, you want to make sure that there's no friction, no confusion, no underperformance. So you have certain people, they tend to go towards the side of perfectionism. They're like, hey, I can't trust this person to do the thing right. You know what? I'll kind of do it myself, and I'll double check everything they're doing after, but I'm really doing the job myself. I've been seeing a lot of that. And I feel like as a team captain, let's say, your role is not to do everyone else's job. That's how you lose. Your role is to make sure you empower them and inspire action in them so that they get to do their job. But for that, you have to trust. And for that, you have to be okay that maybe they do 70 or 80% of the way you would do it, for a little while. But the more you train them, eventually, they'll get better. So that's kind of another thing that I saw. So just this mindset of perfectionism sometimes that I feel trumps effectiveness. Like you would look at certain people and think they're effective, but really they're not. They're kind of doing someone else's job, and it's not making them effective leading in the end if their role is about leading. So that's another thing too. I kind of keep my eye on, and I make sure I don't fall into that trap myself, or same thing for clients. If someone's trying to build a business and focuses on making everything completely perfect, when we know things change and they need those scars, they need to have a good system, they need to implement, see where that goes, and that's how they grow. So these are two more things I wanted to kind of throw your way, see what you guys think about that. Number one is where do we find engaged people? I think a lot of it is creating them. I don't know if you can find them. I look at myself. Maybe I could be super motivated going into an organization or a project, but if the environment's not there, you can bet that I'm looking elsewhere pretty quick, or I'm thinking differently pretty quick. So you create them. And number two is just your view on perfectionism, on doing things yourself to make sure they're done right instead of leading. I don't think that's like leadership if you have a team, So this is me, and I'm passing the mic.
Those are a couple of great points there. First, I think that we have to create an environment where leaders can emerge, okay? Because people have the characteristics for leadership or not. I mean, some of that is definitely going to be nature, but then from that, we can nurture them. And so one of the analogies I like to use is the Superman analogy, right? That everyone wants this version of Superman working for them. And however, most leaders walk past Clark Kent every day looking for Superman, okay? When really he's been right under their noses the whole time. So what we have to do is have a system, a mindset where we can identify, oh, there's Clark Kent right there. And so if I put him in the right environment, he's going to be Superman. But a lot of leaders don't have any type of a system, or don't understand how to create that proverbial phone booth where Clark Kent goes in there, bam, comes out, and Superman on the other side. And so that is really critical, because when we create that environment where leaders can emerge, now it's a measuring stick. Because again, Clark Kent doesn't pass the eye test, right? It's not traditionally, oh, I thought this person would be, or that person. No, they don't have, he didn't pass the eye test, but his results are eye popping. Okay. So create that environment where I can see this person over here is constantly outperforming all their peers. What is it? What do they do? You know, and then also what type of teammate are they? Do you see them bringing people along? Do you see them assisting, like you said, or do they just do it all themselves? Or are they assisting their teammates and becoming proficient at this task or this process? Okay. Really huge there. Then the other thing is this pie. And I love this concept of the pie as a leader, because you take over an operation, it's yours. You got 100% of this pie. And so what you have to do is figure out who's going to emerge, who can you trust to take a slice of that pie, right? And so when I find somebody that I can trust and they're very, very good at taking this slice, 5% of the pie gone. Now I only have to worry about 95%. And I repeat that process and repeat that process and repeat that process to the point where I've divided the pie, and not necessarily evenly, but I've divided the pie among my people. Now all I have to do is oversee the pie, because all of these pieces are taken care of and they're going to be executed on a daily basis. But when we try to eat the whole pie ourselves, or one of our people is trying to eat too much of the pie, it's indigestion, right? It's not going to be good. But when we have that divided up, now we can oversee all those processes and know, even without our supervision, that it's getting done, and it's getting done at a high level. We have give people that opportunity. We give them the vision, we give them the direction. But what will happen is when we empower people to own that piece, own their piece of pie, they will always come up with additional ways, even a better way than we had envisioned, to operate that, to take care of that. And so they'll add to the template we have given them, they'll add to that and they'll enhance that. And at the end of the day, we're in a better situation than we were when we began. But it's a process to do that. But at the end of it, you have empowered people, and now you're in the creation mode, where now you are molding this leader to become something more than when they began. And it's a really cool process to do it. But when you find those emerging leaders and then assign those pieces of pie, that is how cultures can get turned around very, very quickly. Because some of these people have had all this latent energy, had all this latent creativity, and they've never been empowered to implement those things. And again, some of those people are going to move mountains because now they've been given the authority to do so. They've always had the ability, but for whatever reason, their talent went unrecognized because they had leaders walking past Clark Kent every day. So anyway, those are my thoughts, and I'll pass the mic.
I thought that was excellent, Charles. That was excellent. I was sitting there thinking about how I hire people, and I think, unfortunately, we've been taught to look at skill sets instead of personality traits. I mean, and people are getting more toward these personality tests and all, but when you think about how we make a decision, even in my position today, you send me a CV or resume, I don't really know your personality. I'm just looking, yep, nope, yep, nope, yep, nope, nope, yep. You know what I mean? You get 1 minute, maybe 2, and I'm like looking for something in there that says I can do the job. And I don't know. I'm assuming that's how most companies hire anyway, or at least that's how we screen people out. But to Charlie's point, you're never gonna get Superman like that. You know what I mean? We're just passing up Clark Kent. No. Yeah. And so I think we got to change the way we hire. And I changed it up a little bit. unless it's a job, and I mean, there are jobs that require certain experience. Like, there's IT jobs, you have to be able to know the coding, right? The language. But once you get past that, I mean, if I'm applying, you have to assume I know that part because you will find out very quickly if I don't, right? If I don't know how to build a car, if you put me in a mechanic shop, it ain't gonna take long. You like change that motor. Take about 3 minutes. I'm in there messing with the fans and in the trunk. I'm in the wrong place on the car. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing. It won't take long. But the people that, assuming they know what they're doing, I think then we come into personality. I look for a certain type of people. You know what I mean? Like when I owned my company, I hired everyone from Bank of America. Everyone. What we were doing was staffing. They was like, why do you keep picking Bank of America people? Well, they were friendly, they were kind, and they paid attention to detail. Right? You can't lead a bank a penny off. You're drawing a penny off, you back in there. We didn't count it again. Then count it again. If you can pay that attention to detail, then you can look over a resume and a job requisition and compare the two probably and figure out, is this person good for that? And so I start going for people that have that ability. And then I figure a good leader can train you to almost do anything. If you don't know how to change the oil, a good mechanic can teach you how to change oil, brakes. I mean, you could almost work at Midas after a few days, right? They're not doing any major car, but you want your brakes changed, a good mechanic probably can teach you that. The question is, did you pick someone that has the ability to learn, right? And so they're usually going, no, you never worked on brakes before. You can't work here. Then you study missing great people because the person that has worked on brakes may not be as great of a learner as the guy that want to work on brakes or the female that wants to work on brakes. And I think we target people that we're looking for something. When we're trying to find great people, we're looking for something to already be there instead of leaders thinking, I'm going to help you get there. Who has it's like the potter and the clay. Who has the clay? Who's the clay? Who can I mold to get to what I need? As opposed to who already is a cup. Like, no, I need a cup. We ain't never thought about making a cup, especially if you make it, it probably fits your needs better. It's just like you want it. I need my cup to be tall. I like it skinny. I want the handle to be big. I got big fingers. I need to be able to hold. I don't want to use 2. I want 3 in my face. When we think about that part of it, do you really want the cup someone else made, or do you want to take some time and help develop cups? You just need someone that's moldable, can get it done. And so I try to go with personality traits. And one of the things I even implemented in my job is all the people that work for me. The goal is to call every single person. Unless it's just glaring, they're not qualified, every person gets called. Because what's going to happen is when you're talking, one, I don't have time to put everything I have in this piece of paper. That's just not going to happen. Can you imagine if all of us set a resume to be 12 pages long? Anybody time for that? But 2, I need you to talk to them about the experience. They're going to tell you something, I guarantee you, 95% of the time, they're going to tell you something not on the paper. Oh, I didn't know that. Which means not only are they not just good for this, they're good for something. Go, wait, maybe I got you in the wrong. Now I don't even have, you didn't even apply for the right position. You didn't know. You know what I mean? So I think we have to do that. And then on that perfectionism, I think everybody has to, there's a goal that we all trying to get to, including the employees. And like you say, me doing it is definitely not the answer. But I'm just looking for the best picture of perfection for them, right? How do I get you to be your perfect self? When I say perfect, I use it loosely, almost in synonymous with your best self. If you hit your best self that day, then you got a perfect, then that's good for me. If you can make it to 80 and that day you showed up at 80, then that's 100%, right? 80 out of 80 is still 100. It's 100%. Tomorrow we might be at 81. So if you show up at 80, you're going to be a little short, be at like 96 or 7. But if 80 is where we are and you show up at 80, that's 100% today. And we can get you to 82, 83, 87. And we'll keep slowly get you there. But I think we got to recognize that they showed up at their 100% self. And to the point that Alvin made earlier about 30% of people actively disengaged and 40% of people, you only got about 30% of people actively engaged and 40 just passive. When you get people that show up at 80%, when they at 80, we complain because they didn't show up the other 20, but you figure they're working harder than the people that's at 100 just giving you 40. You're winning. So That's kind of my take on it. Now I'll pass the mic.
Can I jump in?
Oh, come on in there. Alvin always get cut.
I'm sorry. Al just brought up a couple things, and it's funny that this topic, and Al brought up a couple things. And yesterday, I have a business breakfast every Saturday with my social media guy, and this topic came up, and I started writing it out. And so, just a little bit of background. I remember the first time. Matter of fact, it was Tom Hill's group, Alvin, that said, "Hey, can you come in and teach the group how you put together presentations for PowerPoint, specifically in your speaking engagements?" So I was like, okay. So I'm thinking, well, I don't know if I could talk for an hour about that, right? Well, then when I started putting the process down, over time, I developed this process that I just do without even realizing I had a process. And when I wrote it down, it was pretty extensive and created a PowerPoint presentation. So so the same thing with hiring that Al brought up. I realized that I have a process, and I realized when I talk to my clients that most of them don't have a really solid process. And so the results are really hit and miss. And so there's a few key questions that I need the answers to. And with those key questions that I have the answers to, then I can be very, very successful. And I'm talking about, somewhere in the 80 to 90%, which is really high. That if 80 to 90% of the people you hire are going to be successful in their roles, that's a good percentage. All right. So here's the key. I'm putting this down because I'm going to put it into a process, but I just wrote these yesterday. All right. So when I ask clients, what's the number one skill they look for, right? What's the number one skill they look for? They always say, well, they got to have experience. They got to have this. They got to have work ethic. These are the common answers that I receive. The first skill I'm looking for, number one, is people skills. It's number one, because that's going to drive everything else. You could be the best in the industry, and if you don't have people skills, you're going to destroy our team. And so, yeah, they're going to be giving me 200% over here, and they're going to take everybody else down from 80 to 20 because they're dealing with their foolishness. So people skills is the number one skill, okay? Because guess what? They're a team player by nature already. They're coming in. Day one, they are going to enhance my team because they're a team player day one. And then what happens when I hire enough team players? Then organically, without my help, without my direction, organically, the team comes better. So I hear about all these team building exercises people do. Fantastic. But if you build a team with team players, they're going to come to you. They're going to say, hey, Ray, we're all going bowling Friday night. You want to come? Hey, Ray, we're all going to the ball game on Saturday. Want to come? Hey, Ray, we're all getting together and bringing a dish to work. We're going to have a potluck. You want to bring a dish? They're going to come to you. You don't have to generate it. Okay. So that's a big one. Really, really big one. And then when they sit down, hey, why do you want this job? Why do you want this job? And the answers that they give to the subsequent questions, they're a go or no go. And so here's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for, well, I need a job. It's just a paycheck. I gotta dig deeper. Like, I need to understand what their dreams are. I need to understand what their goals are, right? I need to understand what their vision is, okay? And what I'm looking for is what's driving them, and so what I'm looking for is, what? Hey, I'm a single mom, and it's up to me, when I grew up in a family that, we didn't have a lot of things, and I understand what it is hard to work, and I'm trying to create a future for my children. And I do that by bringing a paycheck home. This job has benefits. This is what I'm looking for, because I didn't go to college, but I'm going to make sure that every single one of my kids are going to go to college. All right. Okay. So now I know that drive they have, that why is so strong. What did Viktor Frankl say about why? He said, if your why is strong enough, you can overcome any how. So now that person's going to be trained, right? that person is trainable. They're going to always find a way and not find an excuse, because you can find either one you look for. They're always going to find a way. But here's the thing about their why. It's true. You could trace it back to what they love the most, which is their kids, their family. Okay. Why is that so important? Because research shows that love impacts everything human beings think, feel, do, and become. That's the big four. So that why, if I could trace it back to what they love, that's what I'm looking for. Rain or shine, they're coming. Okay. And they're going to do the job. And then the last piece of that is that somehow, this is the people skills. They're always talking about service to others, service to their coworkers, service to the organization, service to the community, service to their family. They're always serving. That's always when you're asking questions about what they do, what they did on their last job, what are they passionate about? Somehow they're serving. Okay. Then, hey, on your last job, what obstacles, what challenges did you personally have a hand in overcoming? Was there a big project you helped? Was there a problem that you personally had a hand in solving? Well, guess what? They're coming to you with details on what the problem was, what their solution was, and how they implemented it. They don't have details. They were just a go forward, not a go to. I want to know that they were the go to, the reason why. So that combination, I'm telling you, 9 out of 10, you're going to be correct. Okay. In your assessment. But those are the things I'm looking for every single time. And when you put a group of people in a room that pass that litmus test, they are going to organically become this tight unit, because, they're going to like attracts like, and then they're going to enhance one another's ability to serve. Now you got this juggernaut, right? You got this juggernaut. So then when someone else comes in and they don't match that culture, they don't match that energy, they're going to stand out like a sore thumb. You're going to see them right away. Okay. Or the people that don't want to play ball that are currently there, again, you're going to see them right away. They're standing out. You can see, okay, you don't fit here, right? So it's a process, but I'm telling you, that's a magical system that yields the best results. All right. So with that, I'll get off my soapbox now. Al got me on my soapbox.
Well, I gotta go. So no, I do have to go, and go in 2 minutes. All right. So number one, everything everybody said, but the number one thing, I have somebody right now. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. I have somebody right now who my other receptionist wanted to get rid of her a while ago, 3 years ago, before pandemic. Oh, she's not working out. But my other receptionist obviously is not I actually put her in the wrong place. So it's not her fault. My bad. And so I was counting on her I was assuming she could tell me about this person, because I left it to her to hire. Anyways, she was just emotional. Something about that person didn't resonate with her. Wasn't looking at her as a super woman hidden inside kind of thing. She just saw all Clark Kent. So anyways, something told me, let me hang tight. But roll clock forward to today, my receptionist who hired her is gone, and now she's still here. And what I'm finding is that when I'm talking to her, I see so much potential in her, like we all see in people. Everyone has that potential, but I see years, decades of limited beliefs, upbringing, culture, influence that she's had. And right now she's currently, in the midst of, she's hitting a time in her life, I think, when she's just having massive changes going on that she wants to make. I can see it, so much unbelievable potential in her, and just underplaying it. I just see in her actions, I see in her behavior, I see in the way she operates, I see in just complete habits of underperformance in her life. So when you're asking about, I think everyone out there has their superpower, but we have to unleash it, which is why I have that. If they're worth it to you, then it's worth putting the time in them. If you have a big organization, I get it that you don't have time to go sit with every individual. However, if that person is almost like I say in any relationship, I'm very meticulous with my language when I talk to people that I care about. if I care about you, I'll be careful with my language, because if we're not careful with our language, we'll say things and do things, think that's communication when it's not. Communication is really an articulate art to say it right at the right time, the right way, the right measure. And you could just open your mouth and let anything come out in any way, any tonality, any variety, vocal variety and body language. I mean, there's an art to it when you really want to make an impact. So anyways, I've been talking with her, looking at deeper, because she's had so much potential, but she's got a lot of old narratives that run old. So for us to find these leaders, if they're worth it, if you see they're worth it, and the worth thing is ethic, my opinion, it goes down to their values. If they have great values, but their performance is not very good, I think it's worth diving deeper into finding out what's going on with them. How can you help them personally to rid themselves of limited beliefs, cultural influences, all kinds of narratives that are going on in their head, and then unleash. But if someone's values aren't in alignment, I have no time to work on that, because that's a root thing that they have to, and I don't need that. I don't need time to put into you. If you don't have values, like when I'm not there, you're busy sabotaging, but you're smiling at me, those kind of things, I'm not interested in working on that. I'm interested in working on, I literally see that you have tons of potential, but I know that you are working on old stuff, like someone told you it would be nothing. My family, no one went to college, so my dad always said you don't need that. Or, those kind of narratives that keep people from performing at their best, because they're imposter syndromes and all kinds of things going on. So yeah, so I think that's how you really, if the person's integral pieces are in place, like if I looked at Charlie working for me, or Al or yourself, and I see, man, he's a really good guy, but I see that he's late, often tardy. I see that he's unfinished work. I see that he's, maybe on his phone, but when his work's really good, but these little things that he's not doing, that's keeping him from that next level, because there's a narrative that he's running on, right? Or she's running on. So anyways, that's my reply to that before I hop. I gotta get on the Zoom next.
Have a great
Awesome, brother.
week,
Thank you.
Alvin. Thank you.
Yes. What did you say, Charlie?
Thank you. I'm sorry I
Nah,
jumped in there.
nah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's passion. All right, cool.
You leaving us, Alvin?
Yeah, I have a 8:30 Zoom meeting that I'm the president of this jury, and I gotta let people in and get oriented.
All right, brother. Good to see you.
You got 2 minutes.
Exactly, about there. Now I'm gonna change my top, so my upper body looks like I'm presenting something. All right. All right, peace and love, brothers.
Take care, Alvin.
And
so
done.
There you go. Take care, Alvin.
You too.
Good. I'll just piggyback real quick on one thing that Alvin said about my process too. Kind of like you, Charlie, I didn't know really whether or not I had a process. And once I sat down and actually broke things down, I was like, hey, I actually have a process, that works pretty well for me. And it's funny, the things that you talked about when it comes to people skills or purpose and all of that, they are integral parts also of my process. So I'll kind of show you guys real quick. I'll just draw it down. And I'll show you on camera. Passion. Okay. So let's say I have like this triangle. Okay. Mm-hmm. So on top, usually the way I look at it, I look for passion. I haven't wrote it down completely, but I look for coachability, and then I look for dependability. Okay. These are like my 3 big axes. When it comes down to passion, it just falls down to the culture I'm trying to create. I want a customer centric environment where people come in and they are greeted by people who are enthusiastic, who have a certain type of energy. And most importantly, I look at what is their purpose, what sets their hearts on fire, as I say, why do they wake up in the morning? Are they actually passionate about something, that relates to what we're doing as an organization? Same thing when I look for clients, when I sit down with clients, figuring out whether or not this is going to be a good relationship for us. As much as clients, they interview me, I interview them. I want to make sure, are they just talking, or are they really passionate about trying to grow, trying to make things happen? This is usually the number one thing that I look for. Passion. Number two, coachability, for sure. Coachability. I don't care how experienced someone is. I don't care how smart they are. Like, if for a second, in that interview, I feel that they're not coachable, that's a huge red flag. That's a huge red flag for me. Coachability is a huge one. And even when you look at people's skills, I feel if you're coachable, one way or another, you can be a team player, because you can take input, you can know your place, you can grow, you can get molded into something else. You need to be coachable. And number three is dependability. Can I depend on them? By that, I mean, do they have the skills? As you said, Al, do they have the skills to do the job? Do they have like the actual technical knowledge, the requirements to do the job? What are their values? Can I expect it? Can I know that they're going to be there on time? Can I know that they're going to do certain things? So especially on the different level of leadership, are they made of that right stuff right now? Can they handle the pressure? So these are like my three axes usually. And yeah, for sure, Charlie, you can piggyback, no problem.
So one of the things on the coachability side, and I tell this story, and you may have heard this story before, but I tell this story because, as a leader, hey, I can, if they've got the passion, I can coach them and up and things like that. But I'll just never forget this story because, again, I'm listening to someone interviewed. I'm always looking for what can help me, right? What can I learn? And so this was the former head basketball coach for University of Utah, the Utes, right? And, predominantly Mormon state, right? And, his teams were, it's it's hard to get into that school. And so academically, people had to be very proficient. So it limited, the kids that he could recruit, right? But every year he was coaching them, they would make it to the NCAA tournament. And they made so many deep runs, Sweet 16, Elite Eight, even some Final Fours, I think. And on the strength of their free throw shooting, because it's so big in the tournament, you got to be able to shoot your free throws. And then year after year, his team would lead the nation in free throw percentage shooting. And so I remember Roy Firestone asked him, hey, I got to ask you what your secret is. What's your coaching secret for free throws? Every year your team leads the nation. He's like, hey, I don't know anything about free throw shooting. He says, we recruit kids that can already shoot them. He said, if they don't shoot them, we don't recruit them. He said, I don't know anything about it. And so it's so simple that so many coaches, they're pulling their hair out trying to get their team to be able to shoot free throw because they think they can coach it when there's no substitute for someone that can already do it. And now we don't have to worry about that. Oh, as a matter of fact, we lead the nation. He didn't even coach it. It's so amazing. So that's how I see people skills is like, I don't have to coach it. They're just doing it. Oh, it's your birthday, Ray. And so, Betty, that lady in the office, she's going to bring cookies to whoever's birthday it is. She's going to make it special. She's going to make her special grandmother's recipe chocolate chip cookies. That lady is worth her salary just because she makes it's special for everybody. So anyway, that was my kind of add on to what you were.
But it's so true. It's so true. Certain things you don't coach, right? Just like in football. I mean, if you show me a kid, he's 16 years old, he's 6'6", 300 pounds, and he runs a 4.8, I can't coach that. You know, there's nothing to be said. Sign him up. Sign him up. That's it. We'll figure out the rest.
Right?
Exactly. So no, you're so right. So that's why I kind of start off with passion, because the thing about passion too, the more I ask questions, you know, to find out what their motives are, what their purpose is, I'm looking for self-starters. You know, that's the thing. You know, someone who's self-motivated to reach something. Because if I know that, that means that, okay, it's my responsibility to keep pushing this organization forward, because this person is going to apply pressure, because they're going to grow, you know, regardless. So, and I want that, right? So in order for me to keep them, that means we have to grow. But I'm not going to have to go back all the time and try to pull them up. Like, naturally, I see traits in them that they're passionate, they want to grow, and they're self-starters, you know? So that's one, and that you can't coach, you know? So that's one thing. And now, but you got to make sure they're coachable too, because if they're self-starters and they want to grow, but they want to do it their own way and they think they know it all, then that's a problem. You know, that's a big problem. And lastly, yeah, just dependability. I just gotta make sure you're the right RKG, as we said, right kind of guy. That's it. So usually when I follow these three, it works. And I think it's cool how people skills is definitely falls into that, purpose falls into that. And so, yeah, I agree 100% with what you talked about. There are certain things you shouldn't have to coach at this level, honestly. If you spend much of your time doing it, you can't. You can't, and it's a waste of energy and time for sure.
Well, I'll say this. I think the problem, some of the time we forget the purpose for which we want the person. You know, I think that's what kind of throws us off. You know, you got to always have at the forefront, what is the purpose of having this person? Because no matter how good they are, if they're not good for the purpose, you know, you can buy the best silk in the world, you still ain't gonna get a good baseball. You know, no matter how good this is the best silk they ever made, right? Except we trying to make a baseball. You know, we trying to make a shirt or a blanket or something. You'd be like, this is great. But I think people see something that's great and be like, yeah, look at that. Yeah, but the goal, what are we trying to accomplish? So to you all's point about hiring people, you know, we see people, yeah, they're going to be good for the team. It depends on what you're trying to get your team to do. Where are we trying to go with this? You know, and Charlie and I talked about this some years ago, and we had a discussion when I was in Iowa. We talked about qualified versus quantified. I think what happened, you know, we always qualify. You know, you can find people that qualify, but I think after you get the job, that's the end of that part. Now we need to quantify. And every single year, you need to quantify why you have that position. Every single year, you qualify is how you get the position. Then we leave them there because they're qualified. He's still there. You know, he's qualified. That ain't what we're looking for. Qualified got your position. Quantified is what are you doing? What are you accomplishing? What are you going to accomplish that keeps you sitting in that seat? And I think that's the way we look at it when we got to look more to that point. Like, yeah, I know he can do the job. What are you going to do next year? Because we can't keep talking about, yeah, he had a great resume. I mean, that's good when they got in here. He was strong. You know, he's the best sales. Yeah, that's good. Now, what did he sell this year? You know, at some point, it comes down to what is the person doing, which goes back to that people skills. Like, you know what I mean? It's great. And I think we don't look down the street. What does those skills look like in a year, 3 years, 5 years? Are they going to translate into continuous growth, continuous improvement, continuous motivation, you know, that type of thing. So, yeah, I was listening to you. I'm like, yeah, it's all about this people part. It's funny. I say that all the time. We're just trying to hire people. I just need people. You know, people. It's as simple as, what do you need? People. This is 2 P's. People. I just need you to like people. We can figure the rest out. So. See, muted. Oh. There you go. You're back.
Okay. we're good to go. So yeah, people, for sure, for sure. So yeah, I don't know if you want to piggyback on that, Charlie, but yeah, for me, 100% agree. This is all there is to it, is managing people. Managing people. As we started this call, and I told you I was dealing with like this employee arguing with this employee over this, over that, and I kind of sit everyone down, and that's what it all comes down to in the end. It's just setting the line clear, holding the line, and especially letting our leaders know, guys, this is not about just strategy. This is not about this. This is about people first. And I know Alvin was talking about Peter Drucker. I looked him up. I actually like Peter Drucker. I never heard of him before, but he says, yeah, I like him. I'll look him up more.
You're in for a treat.
He says here, I'm more interested in people than I am interested in how businesses work. And same thing for me. Obviously, I'm interested in how businesses work, but businesses don't work without people. So it starts with people. And honestly, I like things to be simple. I don't want to make things complicated. Starts with people first. Always, always, always.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's the beginning and the end of all of it is the people side of it. And I always say, when we get the people side of the equation right, then the other side of the equation is always solvable. But without getting the people side of it, we're never going to solve that equation, right? Whatever that challenge that we're facing. For sure. So,
Well,
all right. Looks like this it for today. Like this is it for today. So if I have a word, that's actually a good thing, huh? If I have a word for today, I would make it 2 words, really. And I would make it people skills. People skills.
Love that. I have to say people first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We all on the same thing. I was thinking people. It's 2. What do you put? People. I mean, you can say it. Do you want people? Or are we saying it's people? Like, y'all don't get it? It's people. How many ways can you say people? I was thinking, well, I'm saying in my head, I was like, well, I guess there's many ways. Then, like, it's people, or we want people.
Yeah.
How you say the word.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Joe?
I thought of the equation, right? So X represents the problem, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So X divided by people equals solution, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
But we skip out the common denominator is people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We skip out on that. We're going to struggle to find that solution.
It's true, huh? Most people look at problem, they try to find a solution.
Right.
Without necessarily dealing with the people.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So,
all right, guys. Well, next week, I know one of the things I was going to talk about when we were talking earlier today. So, next week, I was going to hit on it, but I'll wait till Alvin's back. We was talking about it, but we'll talk about this mountain. When he was telling me about the story with the kid, and wanted to see where he wanted to go with that. But I thought about everybody want to get to the mountaintop, but nobody want to climb the mountain. You know what I mean? It's in the mountain that some great stuff occurred. Be a little more. So I'll say some of it next week. Be a little more spiritual, I guess, in our conversation. But I was just going through stuff about, some great stuff happened in the mountain, especially when you're using the Bible as a reference point. And so, at least I know some of the stuff I'll talk about next week. We'll talk about, because, there's some, I was like, man, that's great. We always talk about being the mountaintop. Nobody talking about the mountain. Nobody talking about the climb.
Yeah.
You look over, but some great stuff happened today. That's where you gotta be your lung capacity, your strength, all that. So be interesting to get your thoughts next week on where we had a little foreshadowing.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. I'll add a little bit to it too. Like for me, as much as I look at the mountain, I always think at of the water also and the waves. They're two completely different things, but as challenging. I'll give you an example. Like me, swimming is tough. You know, I don't I don't think I was made to swim. But if we're getting spiritual and everything, I always keep this in the back of my mind, how God says he calls us off the shore, you know, into the waves, into the water, right? Just like that climb. And this is a place where it's uncomfortable, but we're called there. Like we're called to the mountain for some reason. There's something for us out there. And when you're out there, man, you gotta trust, you gotta have faith, and you gotta be ready. You know, you gotta be ready to fight, but we're called there. Yeah.
You know, the closer you get to the top, the more difficult it is.
Exactly.
Air's thinner, it's a little colder. It's all about that thing, man. We kind of hit on these a little bit before we talk about what side of the mountain you on. I don't know. Was that a year or so ago we talked about that guy? That y'all used to about you go up one side, it's green, on the other side, it's always desert.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
make sure you go up and come down on the right side. You
Yeah.
go up the fertile side and accidentally come down in the desert. It's
Yeah.
the difference between one side of Nevada and the other. One side of California, the other side you're in the middle of the desert. You end up in Vegas. You're like, it is hot out here. You came down the wrong side. All right, gentlemen. I hope
Yes.
everybody have a good day.
Hey, you too. You
Yeah.
too, guys.
Have an awesome week, fellas.
All right, talk to y'all soon.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Peace and love.
Take care.